Are we going live? No, we're not.
It
Hmm.
says it's uploading. 73, 59. See it count down?
It should be doing it simultaneously. Oh, we are live. Okay, great. Fantastic. Hello, welcome. We
Oh,
are
hello.
live.
Yes.
And today we're talking about midlife, everything midlife, menopause, money, perimenopause, stability, success, sex, relationships, the whole nine. If you are new here, hi, I'm Elle, and I help women break free from the rat race and redefine success on their own terms by redefining success so that life can feel as good as it looks. And I'm here today with my illustrious guest, Danyale Thomas, who is the midlife money strategist. So please introduce yourself and share yourself with our community.
Ooh, beautiful. I'm so happy to be here. So, my name is Danyale Thomas. I am the midlife money strategist, but I'm also everything midlife. So, perimenopause, menopause, money, health, wealth, everything that comes up during this special time of our lives. And as you were saying, how we are redefining, I call myself, I'm out here redefining prime.
Ooh. Tell us, okay, let's begin at the beginning. Let's talk about midlife. Let's begin at the beginning of midlife. Well, I'm like, there's so much stuff I want to talk to you about. Okay, let's get grounded a little bit, okay?
Okay.
So for each live conversation, I bring in our patron saints. And so I'm going to tell you who our patron saints are for today's conversation. First patron saint is Toni Morrison, author
Yes.
Toni Morrison, who wrote Beloved and Sula and The Bluest Eye, so many things. And I brought her in with us today. I brought her in with us today because so many of her offerings and her books celebrate Black womanhood in all of the ages and the
Yeah.
challenges, the complexities, the beauty, the richness of our lives. And so I wanted to bring her in. And to talk about really navigating what does it mean to transition and embody prime time.
Hmm. Hmm.
The other ancestor who I brought in is you are a Leo, so I wanted to bring in some Leo energy, and she didn't stay with us. I think she has no business not have no has no business being an ancestor. So I just wanted to bring ancestress Whitney Houston in with us today
Hey,
as
Whit.
well.
Hey,
Yeah.
Whit. Yes.
So thank you, Danyale. There's so many things. I love you on and offline, and there's so much I want to talk to you about today. So can you kind of give us the context, the beginning? How did you become the midlife money strategist?
It's been a road I feel like that I've been traveling probably for the last 10 to 15 years. So I'm 55, right? And in this transitional time, I've held so many different titles and I've had so many different hats, right? So everything from entrepreneur, parent, business owner. And then as I transitioned into being a coach, a consultant for women who were trying to thrive through their own businesses, I realized that nobody was really taking care of themselves financially. All the women I was working with, they were all out here grinding and hustling, trying to get that dollar, but nobody was really thinking of it for a long term strategy around how am I going to be able to get off of the ride that I created? How am I going to one day retire? What does that even look like, right? And retirement really essentially is creating a stream of income that can sustain for the rest of your lifetime without you having to work for it, right? That's what retirement is. And I realized that there was just this space that women were flopping around in, and they needed to be grounded. One, in reality of financial stability, right? And what it takes to actually create that. The other one is the way that women are naturally creative, right? We naturally embody so much of what it takes to be grounded and real in this world, and how to harness all of that to bring forth what it really means to thrive in midlife.
Mm-hmm.
And so through conversations, naturally, the work that I was doing, I was already a financial services professional, and it started just to come together. I host an online group and community called Mainstreaming Menopause, and realizing that the conversations were interweaving around health as well as wealth.
Beautiful. I want to begin this part of the conversation with menopause and perimenopause because I think I'm 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 10 years younger than you, and I kept hearing like whispers of perimenopause, right? I didn't hear that at all growing up. That wasn't even a conversation piece. But then I was like, what's that's for old people. That was my first thought, right? Like I was like, that's ain't got nothing to do with me, ain't got nothing to do with me. I don't know about that life. I'm young and spry, right?
Yeah.
I'm out here.
Mhm, mhm.
And then I was like, oh, maybe not as young and spry as I used to be. So, can you talk about, because I think in the Black community, and this may be just my own experience, so I don't know if this is a Black cultural thing, but
Mhm,
it has historically been very taboo, right? It's not something that
mhm,
we talk about. Our parents didn't talk about really. It's just like the change, right?
mhm,
Right? Can you
mhm.
talk about how the work that you do around these conversations? Why is it important?
Yeah, for all the reasons that you just mentioned, about how we think we're young and spry until we just all of a sudden ain't, right? And I felt that same way for a long time. So one of my previous lifetimes, I was a hairstylist, and I would be behind the chair, and a woman would have a hot flash while I was doing her hair, and I would be all
Mm.
kinds of annoyed and peeved, right? You out here messing up the style that I'm putting down while I'm doing it, right? We'd have to stop, she'd have to fan, take off her cape, and it was just I personally was annoyed, right? And then scroll forward
Mhm.
and I start to have experiences of my own and I realize that well, damn, nobody talked about all the things that start to happen at this time, right? And I, and luckily, I was held in a community of women who um, knew about natural birthing and how to take care of ourselves from an ancestral place, right? And I got to have all these conversations and start to research for myself as I was going through perimenopause to figure out the conversations that no one had with me, right? My mother didn't talk to me. The grandmothers hid it, right? Or all we knew is that a woman starts sweating and then she gets mean, and there was nothing really, really talked about what is actually occurring for her,
Yeah.
right? And so I just started having public conversations, right? So having come from a background of talking to someone in my chair intimately on a regular basis, I've had a broad range of conversations with women already. And so it was natural for me to start showing up in public places and start asking these questions and have women like lean in as opposed to clutch their pearls and try and run away from it because they were already having their own experiences and they didn't have any answers and were afraid and didn't know where to go for answers. So, the reasons why it is important is because physical health requires for you to be actively engaged
Yeah.
in your experience, right? And as well as you need to know the gamut. I think there's over 36 symptoms that show up related to perimenopause and menopause that women are totally unaware of.
Totally.
So women are out here feeling like they might be going crazy, like they might be losing their mind. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, nah, sis, your hormones are just doing what they do at this point in life.
That's it. That's literally why I put "You Are Not Crazy" on the thumbnail for our conversation today, because it feels crazy making. Like
Yeah.
we have puberty, and we're in such more concentrated school, and so we know everyone's kind of happening at the same time, and then we become adults, and it's like you're kind of on your own essentially when it comes to this conversation around hormonal changes. It can feel so isolating.
Yeah. And it's that isolation, it's that loneliness. So I started into perimenopause. Perimenopause is a spectrum, right? Of when your estrogen starts to decline, and it causes all types of changes, right? In your mental and physical and emotional, like the whole gamut, all of who you are made up to be. And mine's peaked with a period that lasted 3 months and was extremely heavy. Like I was bleeding like I was 15 years old all over again, right? But constantly for 3 months. And it was during COVID
Wait,
shut in.
hold on. I just got full body chills. My eyes are getting teary. You said bleeding constantly for are you frozen? Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, you're frozen on my screen, but as long as you can hear me. Hi, Kay, welcome. Um, you said bleeding constantly for 3 months.
I had a period that started and did not stop and heavy, right? And it was COVID shut in. It was when everything was nobody was just taking any old appointments, right? You had to communicate with someone virtually, and I felt like I was about to die. You know what I'm saying? Like my iron was low, and I was doing all the things to try and research what was going on. And I realized at that time that to the degree that we're not talking about this, like I didn't even associate it with the fact that my body was about to ramp down, my period was about to stop. That was my last full period, right? But I had to have it medically stopped before I would stop bleeding. Yeah,
So,
that one.
okay, let me process my shock and talk at the same time because that sounds exhausting, debilitating, and also mentally it's like what the hormones are affecting your brain and we're in COVID. So it's not even like you're actively out and about in community, you're not in like this community of connect like physical connection and belonging. How did you navigate that? Like how did you take care of yourself?
I mean, just think about it. Just think about when you're like in your teens and you start your cycle at school and you bleed through. I was
Yes.
happy that I was home at home trying to manage this because there were plenty of accidents during this time, right? Um, what was going through my mind was really I really thought I was about to die. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought it was cancer. I thought my fibroids had taken over, right? I didn't know what to think, right? And I didn't know how there was nothing that I tried. So I figured out progesterone would if I started to apply that as a cream, it could probably stop the period, but it was already such full blast that it was not stopping that way. I had to go to the doctor, explain what was going on, and their solution was to give me birth control pills, right? I mean, it takes hormone regulation to regulate your hormones, and that's all birth control pills is. And so it stopped within a few days. I started on this regimen, right? But at the time it was like, okay, I'm locked up in COVID. I ain't having no sex, right? I'm by myself. I wasn't taking birth control pills, beforehand. And now I'm on birth control to try and control something that's out of control. It was a lot to deal with emotionally. So statistically, women are more likely to commit suicide during menopause years,
That makes sense.
right?
That so I had a hysterectomy a few years ago because I was literally dying. And so, but there was no conversation even when I had this hysterectomy around perimenopause, right? I still have my ovaries, but I don't have my uterus anymore. And there was no conversation. And I didn't have a long period, but I had incredible horrible fibroids and was literally hemorrhaging every month. Every month, I,
Mhm.
I mean, I was about to be like, this is a lot of information. I'm like, well, this is the conversation to have all the information in, right? I would remember I don't know if anyone knows those purple always like the overnight, the
Mhm.
thickest ones that they make. I would go through those every 2 to 3 hours. I was
Yeah,
bleeding out
yeah.
and I had to get blood transfusions, multiple. I had to get iron transfusions. I was in the oncologist every week getting care. And and no one was talking about perimenopause and no one was talking about the mental health, right? How
Mhm.
this was because I was like, I could jump off a building. No jump, no, I could jump. Which building is closest and tallest, right? Like these are the things that was going through my mind because it was crazy making physically, mentally, emotionally. I was exhausting. Now, thankfully, the hysterectomy was fabulous. It was easy. I mean, fabulous. Okay, that's strong. Okay, now, okay,
You had a fabulous hysterectomy.
maybe that's a little generous, but it was seamless. It was seamless. I had a great surgeon. It was laparoscopic. Like even though my uterus was enlarged and all the fibroids made it, he did a great job. So I'm grateful that I had no complications.
Mhm.
But the aftermath, there was no soft place to land, right?
Yeah.
There was no, this is what this means to your body. So thank you for doing this work and having these conversations because I think so many of us are experiencing them differently, but there is this common thread and how it affects mental, physical, emotional health and well-being. So what kinds of resources did you start to find and connect with in the midst of all this, in the midst of COVID? Like, how did you start taking
Yeah.
care of yourself?
Um, like I said, a lot of conversations with other women in my community, and they were all younger than me. So bringing up things that they had not experienced yet, but were aware of because of how they were with their own bodies, right? I became more strategic about the supplements that I was using, natural remedies. I had already had an acupuncturist that I was very close with. And so just really finding ways to balance myself in all the ways. I spent a lot of time out in nature, like really grounding myself to the earth. I spent a lot of time by myself, and luckily I was someplace. I was in Hawaii at the time, so going to the ocean and just floating. Like these were the things that I felt like really healed me during this time and settled my nervous system down. Um, and then once a woman realizes that okay, she's not alone in this. This isn't some strange happening that's only going on to me, that there's been billions of women before me who have had a similar experience.
Yeah.
Then it's like, that's when I became really kind of enraged around, okay, but why is nobody talking about it? Why am I just now hearing about it? Why are there all these symptoms and no one's saying, "Oh, honey, that's menopause." Because a lot of them didn't know either, right? Because we lacked the importance in our medical system for them to be researching and addressing the issues that were coming up for women, right? They give us one thing, it's hormone replacement therapy. And if you can't take hormone replacement therapy, the things that they offer you are all that I have found are pretty much all mental health related.
Mm, like responsive to, like a, like if you're having suicidal ideations, these are the things to do.
No, no. Like the things that they have that will subside or get rid of your hot flashes or not your inability to sleep, right? Or whatever symptoms that you're having are all the medications are pretty much
Oh.
psychosis, those type of pharmaceuticals that in some way alleviate these symptoms.
It really shows how much the medical industry hates us. Like, really, it does not care about us because there's such a disconnect between nature and holistic healing, wellness, well-being,
Hmm.
ancestral wisdom, like you're naming all, and the contemporary modern medical society. Like, as you said, every person who bleeds has had to go through this, right? Like, this isn't new. This isn't like a revolution of the 21st century. Like, since people have been here, women, people who bleed have been having menopause, and yet it's so disconnected from medicine that, and holistic measures are also disconnected from it. Like, you shouldn't have to take a psychoactive drug to
Hmm.
get care for something that half of the population will endure.
More than half of the population.
More than
And that was kind of where I started. I was like, okay, the dynamics around this, the fact that we tell girls that their period is going to start, we tell them how to care for themselves, how they need to be discreet, right? And what happens during that time nobody ever has the fullness of the conversation, that at one point and another point your period will stop, and then a whole other series of events will happen with your body.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
not even discussed. It's not even, and it's not only is it not discussed, but there's shame and stigma around it.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like you're wrong, you're over the hill, you're old, you're no longer relevant, like all of
Mhm.
these things. What have you noticed in your conversations that women, the shame or the stigma or the weight that women carry through this process?
Yeah, I feel like, so we're in this time where more women are having conversations, more female doctors are starting to show up and offer real solutions and real conversations and addressing the problem a little bit more. But the stigma used to be that just like your period, you didn't want anyone to even know. Remember how the embarrassment of being
Totally.
a girl, and all of a sudden you're bleeding every month. And the one thing you don't want anyone to know is that you bleed every month. But it's the most natural thing possible, right? So the stigma is also there that, okay, it's like who you are in the world is somehow diminished because you no longer bleed, right? Like
Mhm.
our whole value is around our ability to be sexually wanted or desired, right? And because you're no longer fertile, then you're no longer as desirable as you were before. So there's stigma around that. There's stigma around the fact that there's a whole physical manifestation, right? A woman starts sweating and everybody tries to act like they don't see her over there fanning in the corner, right? Furiously fanning in the corner. And it's just the embarrassment of trying to, and the stigma of trying to hide what's actually going on for you,
That's right.
which is crazy,
That's right. So
which
what
makes you feel even more alone
that's
than
right.
you were originally.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is such the parallel between having your period, right? Like it is the same, which is really misogyny, right? Like essentially, it's this. There's something wrong with being a female, being female, being woman, bleeding. Like there's something wrong with not being a man. Essentially, if we get it down to the nuts and bolts, that's what
Hmm.
all of this shame is about, or this.
Hmm.
The shame is the internalized experience, right? But that's what all the the judgment, the othering is about in
Yeah.
society and in culture.
Yeah.
I don't have my glasses on. Hold on. Let me put this on. It's Key, not K. Okay. Key says, honestly, I don't think severe menopause is natural. Can you speak to that? Because I'm curious. Your thoughts. I have thoughts, but I'm curious about your thoughts.
What's severe? I mean, really, what's severe? Because we are very far away from how our ancestors transition through menopause, right? And so is severity really all 30, you're experiencing all 30 something of the symptoms that they have listed, and those are just the ones that they have listed,
Hmm.
right? Those are the ones that they actually have researched and are contributing to menopause. I complained about brain fog, and my doctor, instead of addressing brain fog associated with menopause, sent me to the long COVID clinic. Like, they are trying to find ways to kind of put off because they don't have answers and they don't really address. So,
Wait, can I interrupt you for a second?
yeah,
Before that conversation with your doctor, did you think they would have responded differently, or was that kind of on brand for that doctor?
and I feel like she was tired of me asking for shit. But I want to address Kay's, I want to make sure that I'm answering Kay's question. So, extreme menopause. Do I think that it's natural? I think that we're just now starting to scratch the surface of what fullness of menopause really entails, right? Because our mothers, grandmothers, they didn't have the type of dialogue or studies that they're starting to do now, right? So it's hard to even know what all menopause really entails. And the severity really is based off of how you're personally experiencing it, right? So what you think is like too damn much. For me, it was not being able to focus. To me, that was, look, y'all got to do something about this. Me not being able to focus the way I had the last couple of months or the last couple of years is annoying me to no end. Like is this brain fog? I don't know, but we need to address this. Do I need some type of medication, right? Because not all women can take the HRT. So to me, that was severe. And because it wasn't, I wasn't ADHD, right? They weren't giving me that as the prognosis. So they could not address it as they would if somebody could not concentrate because they had ADHD. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying it's brain fog. I'm saying it's menopause. Something has changed in here.
Yeah.
And because they don't have an answer for that outside of giving you HRT, go to the COVID clinic. Go to the long COVID clinic. If you have you ever had COVID? Yeah, I had COVID once. Yeah, you should go see the long COVID clinic. Now, mind you, the long COVID clinic, long COVID has no they have no answers for that,
No.
right? So, what I'm really trying to point out and stipulate is that because this is newly being researched and addressed and talked about as much as it is now, the severity of it, we really don't know because we really don't have anything to really compare it to other than each other's own experiences.
So true. I also want to just give context that if your lineage is Black women who come from enslavement, we didn't have no time to talk about menopause. There was no time. There was no ritual around. I mean, maybe there was ritual. I don't know. But from what my understanding, there wasn't ritual. There wasn't rite of passage. There wasn't ceremony. There wasn't, and maybe there was like in different pockets, right? In spirituality or religion or church, maybe there was something in sister circles. I don't know.
Mhm.
But, but even if there was, they had to keep working, right? They weren't going to be like, I'm gonna take a pause and just I've got to chill. So that kind of work over everything has also been passed down hand in hand with menopause, with
Mhm.
perimenopause. Like there was no time for self-reflection. If they were giving birth in the fields, they were having menopause and hemorrhaging or whatever they were doing in the fields. They were doing all of it. So I just want to contextualize it because it's not being medically researched, but also culturally, we haven't had time to exhale and breathe and really acknowledge the impact of this because we had to keep going.
Yeah, yeah. And they say that I think I've read that the purpose of menopause is for women to go into the stage of life where they can be better caregivers for everyone else. Essentially, your grandmother years are so that you can take care of the grandchildren
I
that you're
rebuke.
having and be in a nurturing space,
I
right?
rebuke.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I'm realizing that no, this is redefining my prime. It's not about me now continuing to position myself to care for others because now I'm no longer in my bearing years where I'm actually actively taking care of those raising those people up. Now I'm in a stage of life where now what's happening is that I'm just nurturing everyone else who's out there in the world. And I say that I call BS.
Yeah,
I feel like this time in our lives is about us fully embracing who we want to be and what we want to fully express in our lives and having the freedom to do that when it's not connected to being there for other people.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I think that's part of reclaiming the narrative, right?
Yeah.
Reclaiming the narrative of what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a Black woman, what it means to be a woman of a certain age, a Black woman of a certain age, because they, and they, like who is they, but society, culturally, we are expected to just keep taking on responsibilities, like taking it on until we do what you just named. And we say, no, actually, I'm my responsibility and I'm centering myself in my own life. I'm centering my ease and my well-being and my money, which we're going to get to, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
my me. I'm centering me in my life because it's my life and my job is not actually to take care of everybody else. That's not my role. That's not why I was incarnated. That's not why I was born to be a caretaker for other people. That's not it. And I think a lot of Black women, that can feel very rebellious, right? That can feel very affronting. That can feel, because we are so deeply conditioned that that is our, not just our job, but our value, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how we're seen as important. So I honor and celebrate you, and I, know so much about how you've done that in Hawaii and Seattle, and just being really creating success on your own terms, which is beautiful and remarkable, and such a gorgeous example for all of us, really. Can you talk about, for, and I want to get to money, but because I love to talk about money too, but I want to talk to the women who are watching this, who are like, yeah, I hear all this, but what do I do? Like, how do I'm hot and I'm tired and my brain is foggy and I'm irritated and I don't want to be on drugs. So what are my next steps?
I think that that point of clarity that you don't want to be on drugs and you're having these all these experiences is a great first step. I think the next step is to cut the fat meat. And when I say that, I mean you are your top priority. And so, like for most women in their lives, they're juggling not only their kids, maybe they're juggling their grandkids. They're trying to make sure that everybody got whatever they need. And y'all know exactly what I'm talking about because somebody's paying somebody else's bills out there. Somebody else is taking care of way more than they need to. So cut the fat meat. Um, you make you your top priority, and from there, find the ease in delivering to yourself exactly what you need. And that will become more and more apparent once you stop trying to address everyone else. That means more rest, drink more water, take your time getting up in the morning, set yourself up with a beautiful routine that ushers you into the day with grace and wellness. And then, as far as if you're not taking, if you're like, I don't want to take any drugs, then you need to get on a regimen of supplements and you need to figure out what works for you. Do a third party tested supplement regimen. And when I say that, you want it third party tested where they're actually delivering you the efficacy that they say that they're going to deliver you. That the what is in your supplements is actually contains the ingredients that are listed, and you don't know that unless you actually find someone who's producing supplements that have been third party tested. Beyond that, you need to exercise, you need to exercise, you need to exercise. Um, Menopause ain't for the lazy or the faint of heart, right? So, all the things that you've been hearing that women needed to do, you need to lift heavy, you need to lift weights, and you need to lift heavy. You need to be moving your body on a daily basis because I think somebody in here was saying something about frozen shoulder. Yeah, you got to stretch every day, all day long. Like, you have to be so in tune with what is going on with your body, which means you have to cut out the noise of what's going on with everything else and really focus on, okay, I'm having this experience. If it's hot flashes, you need to, I, I keep a fan, right? I do. But then there are other ways for you to take care of that and to be able to do it, you have to be focused on you.
Yes. I want to just, Royal just asked, will this be available for replay? It will be. It'll live on the YouTube channel, so come back and visit anytime. Um, I want to say a couple of things about what you just said, because the first thing is, I think you and I are very similar in the way that we both do what we want to do with our lives. Like, we're not worried about trying to find a norm, like follow the norm expectations for who we are. We just do what we want, and we're called that way. Um, so when people ask me questions like, how do you get so fearless, or how do you get so courageous? I'm like, oh, this is just who I am. I didn't have to work on this, right? Like, just facts. And I feel like that's how you are too.
Mm.
What, because I was about to, I have a follow-up question, but I want to make sure that I'm on the right track with this question.
Oh yeah, you and I are similar in that regard. Like people ask me all the time, like a form of that question. How do you just? And I'm looking like I really don't have an answer for that,
Right.
right? I met with two women who came to my last event. We did a showing of the M Factor and had a beautiful panel and discussion. And these other two women have been hosting space for women in menopause and running retreats. And then they wanted to have a sit down. And so I'm sitting down with them and they were trying to pick my brain. I was like, y'all been doing this longer than I have. Right. And so then at the end, they were like, you're just so confident. And I was like, as though I should be something else. You know what I'm saying? And
I do.
and it was like, how do you get to this level of confidence? And it's like there's no real answer when people ask you questions like that because it's just embodying who you are and trusting that, right? And yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
That's it. So, okay, I mean, you're a Leo sun, I'm a Leo rising. Maybe it has something to do with that, but we gonna take a site, we're gonna resource all the things. It's just
Yeah.
the thing, right? And
Uh-huh.
so when you say kind of like prioritize yourself, for me that's easy, and I feel like for you that's easy. But there are women out there who are watching this maybe who it's not so easy for. And so I think that has to be really the beginning, because
Yeah.
that prioritizing yourself, getting better at saying no,
Mhm.
has to be a skill, like actually a skill that you
Yeah.
wheel and deal all the time with comfort so that all the rest of it makes sense. Because if you don't learn how to say no and prioritize yourself first, it's just all the things that you just named, exercising and weightlifting and eating well and getting the supplements. It's just going to feel like one more thing on the to-do list. It's not going to actually feel like taking care of your well-being.
Honey, you are your to-do list.
Hello.
You- that's the only reason why you're here. You are your to-do list. And it's funny because I mentioned the statistic around suicide and menopause. The other statistic that's high during menopause is divorce rate.
Oh,
Yeah, because if you get to that point in your life, you realize you got to cut the fat meat, and the people that you have nurtured, the relationships that you've cultivated, are not able to realize that it's time to prioritize you, and they're willing to now pivot to also prioritize and place themselves in a position to help support you prioritizing yourself. Then that's when you realize, oh, this relationship's no longer for me. So when women find it hard, I feel like that is an even deeper calling for you to address the relationships that you've cultivated and start to, rework them in some way if you need to. If there's people in your life that won't be able to support you and get in alignment with what you need at this time, then you probably either need to cut them loose or you need to rework that relationship.
that's right. And that takes bravery. That can take bravery and courage and also support. So I love that you have a community where
Yeah.
women can be in honest, transparent conversations about what's happening, because it is different, right? Like things are shifting
Mhm.
despite I'll just speak for myself, hanging on by my fingernails in resistance. Things are changing, and it's helpful to be in conversation. So one, you don't feel isolated and alone and crazy, but also so that's like you see other women who are making brave and courageous choices to leave relationships or change things or have new boundaries or ask for what they need.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, as you said, you are your own priority and have to be, really.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be your own priority. And being in a community of women who understand, who are going through the same thing, who are transparent, who are sharing their knowledge, what they have found that works, is great. So if you're on here and you're not a part of mainstreaming menopause, you can find us. We're a private group on Facebook. Um, I let everyone join. You just have to be female, identify as a woman, and have had a period at some point in your life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What was I gonna? There was something else I was gonna ask you. I don't know. But let's talk about money and menopause.
Okay.
So, what is the money, midlife, and menopause? How do those three come together?
So usually during midlife is when a woman is in her prime earning years. She's usually earning well above what she was making in her 20s, in her early 30s. She settled into her career, and then what shows up is menopause, which shows up as brain fog, which shows up as you having aches and pains that you can't account for, maybe not feeling as though you're on the top of your game, but you're at the height of your earning potential, right?
So it's like,
And how that changes the dynamics of money. There's already been studies showing that there's a loss in earned wages because women are having to either leave their position because they feel like they can no longer perform up to the capabilities that they were before, or they're taking time off because they're trying to assess, okay, if you're in perimenopause and you started that long-term bleeding of a period that has not ended, how do you manage that and be in the boardroom at the same time, right? And so they're having to navigate all these new aspects of how their body is changing, right? How psychologically they're changing. And what it's doing is it's earning their money. They're because they're not keeping up at work, or they're changing positions, they're not able in their high earning years to continue to put as much away as they need to for retirement. So it turns into kind of this trickle down of really have an effect on their pockets.
so what is the, I don't want to say solution because that feels too like tidied up in a bow, but how can women be, because I think part of it, especially Black women, who Royal said, work through everything mentality, right? Like that's what we're taught. So we're just like
You know?
push through, push through, push through,
Mhm.
collapse and exhausted, or have some. I think we are so used to waiting for the big thing, right? We push ourselves so hard until our body breaks, and
Yeah.
then we're like, okay, now I can take some time off.
Right.
But we don't have to live that close to the edge.
Hmm.
So as this is happening in midlife, earnings might be going lower as energy decreases, right? Like the hormones are
Hmm.
fluctuating. What is a different approach to not having to get burnout and not having to get broken and still be well and make money?
I feel like that goes back to the question, like how do women get to this point of when it's time to prioritize themselves? It's being more grounded in who you are and what your needs are, because you can make shifts, you can make changes, you can make power moves, even if you're no longer moving the way that you used to, right? And understanding that the power that you have is not trying to hold on so tight with your fingernail, digging in, even more into what has already been.
Yeah.
There is this beauty of when you allow your body to change, when you allow that, "Oh, okay, yeah, I used to be able to remember things pretty quickly. I can't anymore." And allowing for that to be like, "Okay, this is who I am." A new experience of who you are in the world is a beautiful thing that, God is change and change is God, and allowing for that to be fully expressed as a woman is a miracle unfolding for us, right? And how that can affect your money can be you finding a whole new way to make just as much or even more than you were making before.
Mm.
So being in touch with what is trying to be expressed through you and as you at this point in your life, yeah,
That's freedom, right?
yeah,
That's true freedom. Not
hmm,
because we are in such a youth obsessed culture that it can feel disempowering to honor what's moving through the newness, right? It can be like, no, I want to hang, especially Black women, because nobody's going to believe you your age, Danielle, only because you said it. Like no one is going to look at you and think, right, exactly, not a wrinkle, not a crease, not nothing, not a flap, not a fold. So we can like kind of hide under or fly under the radar of aging, but
hmm,
our body's still experiencing all the things that we're naming, but we don't publicly we can't, we're not clockable in that way often.
right, right,
So so the piece though is that we still have to accept that it's still happening, and relinquish the, even though we still, I guess, have some privileges of youth because we just tend to look younger longer, but there is at least for myself, I'm like, okay, this is my confession, I'm like, this is my confession. I Okay, this is it. Okay, fine. Twist my arm.
let it out.
Let it
It's
So
knocking on your forehead, trying to jump out the screen
I
right now.
know. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. Here's the deal. In my youth, in my younger days, I used to say that I was thick. And people used to look at me sideways because I was, in fact, not thick. I was slim. Especially, I had brain surgery in 2012 and lost a lot of weight. So I was very slim, and then slimmer than I was before brain surgery.
Mhm.
And but I would claim it. I wanted to be thick, but now I'm actually thick in a way I ain't never been thick before, and I'm trying to hang on to my my pretend thick days, and they're not here anymore. No, she's not here anymore. And so I've gotten lazy feels strong but accurate, right? Like I'm trying to ride the wave of my um, metabolism that doesn't exist anymore. I'm trying to ride the wave of a metabolism that tapped out. She said, we did our job.
Mhm.
We got you this far. You
Mhm.
have to take it from here. And I have not. I've not taken it anywhere.
Ah!
So the things that you're naming about lifting and exercise, as you were saying that, I was like, yeah,
Sounds like work to me.
that's like work that I'm not doing. So I'm just thinking, it does
But
require.
I say those things not to try and hold on to a version of yourself from before. I say do those things because it will help you feel so much better in the body that you're in now.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I get it intellectually, right?
Yeah.
Like I know that's true, but I haven't gotten fully on board, I think, to the reality of turning 46 in 2 weeks, right? Like we not 30. And I think that COVID did have an effect on all of the things happening, right? The stress and all of the things. Um, but it is an acceptance of the body I'm in now.
Yeah.
This is the and I'm sure that I can be fitter and stronger, like all if I actually do something about it. Like
Yeah.
so I'm just saying this is my confession. I'm just telling the truth. And
Mhm.
I think that I can't be the only perimenopausal woman on the face of the planet who's not exercising.
You're not. You're not. And I think even our youth, it was something that they talked about, but I feel like trying to incorporate all the things that they say we should be doing it right now can be maddening, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, pick and choose the things
Mm.
that I enjoy doing. I pick and choose when I'm going to do them. That's part of that freedom. You could eat strategically really well. You could eat a diet that is not anti-inflammatory, right? No alcohol, no coffee, right? You could go super strict on yourself. But my thing is are you going to enjoy it?
No.
Some people do. Some people are like vegan, I don't eat. You know what I'm saying? And they enjoy that, right? I'm saying do what is going to make you feel good and you're going to enjoy doing it. I love to walk. So it's nothing for me to go outside and go for a walk for like an hour, right? Up and down hills. And I feel like, oh, when I get home, like I'm ready to do whatever the day is ready for me to do. And I realize somebody else is like, what? Or maybe around the block. Maybe around the block, I'll get my steps in. You know what I'm saying? Or just through the building. I don't want to be outside. So, not all things are for everybody. So, figuring out what you need that's going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to let go of who you have been and start to really get into who you are and who you are becoming.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
true. It's
Yeah.
true. I think part of that too is having elders who it's like, oh, these are possibility models of who we're becoming. And we are becoming the elders, right? Like we are becoming elders, which is also something I'm wrapping my mind. Okay. Anyway, so
It's happening.
it's happening.
It's
It's
happening.
happening. And I'm embracing it slowly, slowly.
Yeah.
So I want to connect this part of the menopause to the money conversation again, because how does that relate to like accepting what's happening, being in the like the truth of the now? How does it also connect to money? What is it money in midlife?
Money in midlife, well, you think about it, we come into this point where there'll also be a lot of health issues and accolades that start to happen at this time. And if your money's not right, everything costs, right? The healthcare and being able to um, get the care that you need, buy the supplements, right? Get the workout regimen that you want, the most healthiest foods. It all costs money.
It does.
So when I come back to it and we start having these really dynamic conversations about, okay, what is the lifestyle that you want? How do you want to be living into your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, right? Hopefully we get into our 80s and our 90s. The beauty of it is that women are living longer than ever before,
Mm.
right? The longer you live, the more money you're going to have in your later years to be able to continue to live the type of lifestyle that you wanted. We used to think that retirement was 10, maybe 15 years. That's what they thought retirement
Mm.
was going to be. So Social Security was designed to not ever really have to be paid out. And so now that we have people who are living into their 80s, 90s, 100s, right? Social Security is having to pay out almost 30 years. So if your retirement is 30 years, you need to have enough money sitting to the side that you can create a stream of income from for 30 years.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about that. Women in particular who are earning less in their earning years, right? We have more to make up. So these conversations in midlife is not too late, because if you're in your your excuse me in your peak earning years, then we just need to probably reallocate some things, right? We need to ramp up in some areas that you might have let like go for a little while. If you're not working as many hours, that's fine. What do we need to supplement that income? What do we need to have a strategy so that you can live the best life possible for the fullness of your life?
And what do you see? Are you speaking specifically about people who are employed and salaried employees, people who are self-employed? Like, uh, because there's such a wide range of income, right, for all of us. What kinds of money decisions are you seeing and supporting and encouraging women to make? Like, what does this look like in a day-to-day life?
And that is like you've asked like several things in one question, but really what it is just that everybody's experience and everybody's income source is different, right? But if you're not having the conversation and you're actually not thinking it through, then there's no way for you to address the possibilities of how you can be advocating for yourself now and in the future, or even the opportunities that can come up, right, in this. So even from entrepreneurs, self-employed, right, gig workers to working for big corporations, right? Maybe a hustle on the side, somebody who's invested in property, right? It's all the same pretty much conversation with plugging in different strategies based on what their needs are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's also part of the changing money mindset and money conversation, that it is a different way that people make money, right? There are different opportunities to make money in different ways.
Yeah.
And I am not a money expert. That ain't my ministry. I would like it I would like it to be. But today it's not. But you are a money expert. We've known each other for decades. And that has been one of the things I love about you, admire about you. Even though you did say a hairdresser earlier, she's underselling herself, friends. She's underselling herself because she had, I think, the most successful hair salon in the Seattle area for decades. Would you, right? So
You know, I did it for 10 years. It looked
a
longer.
decade, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then was a hairdresser. So let's not let the Leo be humble. Okay,
Yeah.
that ain't
Yeah.
it. She's a
Yeah.
money maven. She's a money maverick. She's a money master. This one here. So this is. I don't know who, if there are questions or conversations about money in mid age. Like, this is the person to talk to about it, because it is an important conversation from an expert who lives it. like this isn't theoretical, it's not conceptual, it's not even aspirational. This is your reality. I've watched you make such brilliant money decisions that have supported you over the long, compounded, right? Like compounded over the years. Even from selling your salon to having what's it called, a second unit on your property, renting
Mm-hmm.
it out, like all of these things. So because the people who are watching this conversation are coming from many different places in terms of money, what's a money mindset that everyone can benefit from, no matter if they're salaried or a gig worker or self-employed, or like how do women at mid-age need to be thinking about money?
Yeah. I want you to see that the way I want women to think about money is that there are endless possibilities around your money,
Mm.
right? There are endless possibilities for generating some type of income, and diversification is your friend. Don't go all in on one strategy, one thing, right? Diversify is just always going to be the better route because, as we're seeing right now, the world has changed. The world has changed pretty extremely when it comes to the markets and market volatility. And if you had all your money, all your coins in this one strategy or this one bank, then you might be hurting right now. Whereas somebody who like had spread out and had their coins over here, had their coins in here, whether it was property, whether it was the market, whether it was their own business, whether they were just diversifying in different ways, then they're able to like weather the storm of what's going on right now a whole lot better, right? So I'd say diversification is one of the most important ways to manage your money.
And what if someone, because I know a lot of people who haven't put anything away to diversify, they don't even, they're just kind of living, right? Still, so where would they start even thinking about or beginning to save something away for a longer term living?
Yeah. And that's someplace and something that comes up when I start working with women that they feel like they're behind. And I say, start with where you are, with what you have, right? And if you want something different, you're going to have to do something different, right? So if you haven't put anything to the side now, then it's going to require for you to change the way that you've been managing your money from a mindset perspective to then do something differently. So take an action that's different so that you are starting to put something to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is about embracing doing things differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
So
requires
many
a,
times I hear the excuse that I don't have it right now. Right? Well, you don't have it because you have never put it away to have it, right? Like they're waiting to make some money to then do something with. And the reality is that if you had it set up so that your money was being directed into other places other than in your bank account and out of your bank account, if that's the only trajectory of your money, then it's always going to be doing that, coming in and going right back out. But if you start to set up places for your money to actually go other than to other people's pockets other than what you're spending money on, then you'll actually have some to do something with.
would you recommend people work with an investment broker, or like how what's their first, or apps, what are like big, what's the, I'm about to say Big Brother, Robinhood, like I don't know the app,
Yeah,
like
no, I think that the best thing is to have a conversation with someone with like me who's a financial professional, um, uh, someone that you trust who's actually a professional who can help you make some of these right choices that are for you, right? Like I said before, no two people are the same, so no one can enter it the same. So there's a strategy that is specific for you, but to get to there, you probably need to sit down with a professional.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I will be putting all of your information in the description box below, to mainstreaming menopause and to how you want to be found and connected with, so that people, women who are listening to this conversation who want long-term financial stability, right? It breaks my heart to go to stores and see elders who I just want to be, I wish they were at home or somewhere else, not working on their feet. You can, it breaks my heart. And I'm like, but that's not my expertise. And
Yeah.
so if you can see that you don't have the financial stability to support you in later in life,
Hmm.
talk to Danyale, hire her, get into her services so that you can be well financially supported and is taken care of. Because, as she said earlier, this country probably ain't the backup plan. Okay, we need some more backup plans. This ain't it. The Social Security ain't it. That ain't it. So, um, is there anything else you want to tell women about midlife, money, menopause, anything else that feels
This
important?
was so much fun. I appreciate you having me and being here. Just being able to talk about this, I think that it's so important. I want for women to know that they're not alone. I've been saying that there is space for you to be fully all of who you are at this time in your life. Come on over, join us in Mainstreaming Menopause, and get the friendship and the women's gathering that you need.
Beautiful. Is there the Facebook group? Yes. Is there anywhere else that you want to be found on the socials and the out in the internets?
Yep, we're also at Mainstream and Menopause on Instagram. Those are the two key places. You can also find me on LinkedIn. We'll drop that link in the below when we post everything.
Beautiful. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for being here. Thank
Thank you. It
you.
was good to be here, hon.
And thanks everybody for joining us live. I look,
You got special,
they
very
broke.
special.
They broke. So I'm just like, I'm pretending like I'm in the opera.
Okay.
Okay, y'all, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Let's